go live. Ha 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 ha. Should probably press that. Hey. Okay. I think we're all good on YouTube. What's a waterfall sound? Oh shoot. That's this phone. Okay. God damn it. Apple's whack. Okay. Shoot. This is a problem. The waterfall sound is apparently iPhones are trash. And the microphone tech is garbage. I can connect my headphones, but if I connect my headphones, I can't connect the charger. Oh my God, whose idea was that to take away the microphone port? If you're on YouTube, thanks for joining. Yeah, we're having some technical difficulties on the Instagram stream. And so I am going to maybe switch devices. I'm switching devices here, y'all. Okay, gotta get off this phone and switch. Okay, you all should be able to hear me just fine here now. Y'all, thank you. Oh, thank you, Resistance Live on YouTube. Okay, so I am doing this series on the 12 signs, the 12 sidereal zodiac signs, according to Divination for Liberation Sidereal Astrology. For those of you who don't know who I am Dayna Lynn Nuckolls, also known as the People's Oracle, and I am the creator of Divination for Liberation Sidereal Astrology. Back in 2017, end of 2016, early 2017, is when I started this iteration of my work. And I started this with these threads on the signs. And this was a way to drum up interest in my work and to engage with people around sidereal astrology. Since then, I have developed my own framework of astrology called Divination for Liberation Sidereal Astrology. And so I wanted to redo this series of content on the 12 signs. If you go to thepeoplesoracle.com right now, you will find content on the sidereal zodiac signs, but it is wildly out of date and it does not reflect what I have done since then. In a lot of different places, I have talked about each of the signs, but I thought it would be a great idea to get that all into one place here on YouTube, here on Instagram, and on my blog. So in preparation for this, I wrote 3,000 words on Capricorn, and I just realized that my outline is not here. So I got to be right back and get my outline off the printer. All right, I got my outline going. I got my outline. Okay, so so this is the first in a series of 12 lives, 12 videos talking about the sidereal zodiac signs. Now, first of all, a lot of people really struggle when they switch to sidereal because they take their understanding of the 12 signs, which likely comes from pop culture or if they've been studying tropical astrology, they bring those interpretations to their sidereal birth chart and say, oh, no, 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 that's not me. Or they will use the intimate knowledge that they have of people in their lives who they associate with certain signs. And so they'll say, oh, no, no, I don't like Leos. Oh, Cancers are this way for me. And I feel like that's actually not a bad way to understand astrology, but it's a bad way to understand yourself. Meaning that taking the qualities and traits and experiences you associate with a person in your life and assigning those traits and qualities to a sidereal zodiac sign can be useful in understanding how you personally experience each sign. But it is very unuseful to understand yourself and to apply broadly as a principle. So today we're going to talk about Capricorn the Caretaker. If you've got, and let me get it for you, your 2024 Sidereal Astrology Guide, then you'll know that there is a table in here of all the signs. And this is a new addition to the guide. And so for 2024, every sign has their own title or name or archetype associated with it. So you can see here, there's Capricorn the Caretaker. And so today we're going to talk about why is Capricorn the caretaker? How does Capricorn become the caretaker? And what does that really mean? We're going to talk about the general qualities and traits associated with the sign Sidereal Capricorn in Divination for Liberation Sidereal Astrology. And I'm going to go over what each of the planets mean when they are in Sidereal Capricorn. This video will be available for you to watch on YouTube. After it's over, it will be available for you to watch on Instagram after it's over. And I will even be publishing all 3,000 words that I've written about Capricorn to my blog, thepeoplesoracle.com, sometimes this week. You'll just be able to go to thepeoplesoracle.com, click Sidereal Zodiac Signs, and you'll see a new image there for Capricorn. Click that. You'll be able to read all about Sidereal Capricorn, share it with your friends who have Sidereal Capricorn places, and be like, oh my God, this is you. All right. If you have no idea what Sidereal is, if you only know what your sign is, I want you to take a moment right now. And I want you to go to thepeoplesoracle.com or click the link in the description of this video. If you're on Instagram, you can go to my profile and click the link there. It might be under links, I believe, and click the link to show you how to cast your sidereal birth chart. Most people are familiar with it, what they call their sign. And that is actually the sign that the sun occupied at the moment you were born. But you have Mercury in a sign. You have Venus, you have Mars, you have Jupiter, you have Saturn, and you even have a rising sign or an ascendant that all represent different parts of you. So it's important for you to have all of that information because you might have thought that you were a Capricorn, but turns out you've got planets elsewhere, or you thought that you're not a Capricorn. That you don't have any placements in Capricorn, but you actually do. And as a matter of fact, if you identify as a Sagittarius, a Capricorn, or Aquarius, there is a high likelihood that you have planets in Capricorn. And there are some other planets that move slowly or not quite in sync with our sun sign that can also be in Capricorn. We're going to talk about all of those today. So I'm going to be looking at my notes a lot because I work really hard on writing all of this down for us today. And I don't want to miss a thing. I don't want to miss a thing, y'all. So we got a clipboard. Listen, we in class today. We got a clipboard. We got pages of notes here. We've got so much information to talk about today. So for the sake of brevity today, while I am exclusively talking about Sidereal Capricorn in the Divination for Liberation Sidereal Astrology framework, I will just say Capricorn for brevity's sake, right? So sometimes I will say Sidereal Capricorn, sometimes I will say Capricorn. It doesn't matter. Excuse me. Both ways that I say that, I am referring to Sidereal Capricorn and Divination for Liberation Sidereal Astrology. You heard? You heard? You good? You understand? Very, very, very good. Okay. You have your sun in Sidereal Capricorn if you were born roughly between January 14th and February 12th. And again, to see what other placements that you have in Sidereal Capricorn, you'll want to go to thepeoplesoracle.com and click Sidereal Birth Chart in the menu. There will also be a link to that in this video. And if you're watching from Instagram, there will be a link in my bio. You might have to click links. I'll try to put it there. There's a limited amount of links I can put up on Instagram, so you'll have to find it there. Other than that, I have one more order of business before I start. Oh, this is so good. Kim Reese, if y'all on YouTube, I may not see your comments, but I'm going to try to look. Kim Reese says, hey, I'm born February 12th. This is the moment where you really need to go to thepeoplesoracle.com and click Sidereal Birth Chart, or go to my links on Instagram and cast your birth chart. Because if you're born on the day that the sun changes signs, which in this case will be January 14th or roughly February 12th, you might have your sun in Aquarius if you're born February 12th, and you might have your sun in Sagittarius January 14th. Oh, this is something really important y'all need to know too before I dive into all of this. There is no such thing as a cusp. There are 30 degrees in each sign, and your planet, your sun, your birthday is falling within the 30-degree framework of one sign. There's no gray area between signs called a cusp. There is no mixture of two signs or a gradient. You know how you look at the clock and it's 11:59? It is still 11:59. It's not 12 o'clock yet. It's 12 o'clock when that hour hand moves to the 12, the minute hand gets past 59, and the second hand gets past 59. And then it's 12 o'clock, not a second earlier. All right? So this is really important. If you find yourself hearing some things about Capricorn today that you identify with, that should mean that, ooh, maybe there's something in my chart where I have Capricorn. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, or your rising sign. Okay? Now, real quick, what is a sign? I think we all have like this nebulous contextual understanding of what a zodiac sign is today, but because this is Divination for Liberation Sidereal Astrology, we need to get real clear on what we're talking about. I want you to know who you are. I want you to have a solid sense of yourself, how to understand who you are, and we got to define the terms that we're talking about today in order for you to do that, okay? So in Divination for Liberation Sidereal Astrology, a zodiac sign is how we relate to different parts of ourselves and why, the roles we play in relationship with others, and what needs and skills have come to take priority in our lives. You got that? You got that? We good? Okay. So for Sidereal Capricorn, the caretaker, the need to have enough has taken priority in their lives, and all of the skills and all of the habits and predilections and dispositions that they have come from that need to have enough. If you want it done efficiently without the drama of demanding recognition and praise, Sidereal Capricorn will do it for you. They are resourceful, direct, pragmatic, and Capricorn is the ultimate realist. You know what Capricorn's motto is? Motto or MO is, it is what it is. You know who we heard say that? Michelle Obama, who has Capricorn, right? So Capricorn is the realist. It is what it is. That means that there are some things that are the way that they are. It ain't my fault. I didn't make it that way, but also ain't nothing I can do about it. So I just have to accept it for what it is. Sober is another word that we can associate with Capricorn. And when I get further into talking about Capricorn, we know, or you'll know, that Capricorn's worst fear is deluding themselves. Capricorn's worst fear is to have taken on a false understanding or perception about themselves or the world around them or other people, right? They're trying to get down to the realist of realist of realist of real. And that gives Capricorn some really interesting skills that we'll talk about soon. As one of the 4 earth signs, right? Because Capricorn is not the only earth sign. There's 4 of them, including Taurus, Virgo, and what am I missing? Capricorn. No, 3 earth signs. I lied. Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Their tool, meaning the thing that they use in conflict, the thing that they use in getting their emotional needs met, the thing that they use in their, wanting to be heard or understood or seen by other people, whatever the job or task is that Capricorn has to do, it is going to be the tool of realism. The other really important thing about Capricorn is control. Yes, yes, yes. Now listen, y'all don't come down too heavy or too hard on Capricorn, because they are not the only sign that has some control issues. Hello Cancer, hello Aries, and hello Libra. I'm talking to you, and actually we could sprinkle a little bit of Leo in too, but we'll talk about that another time. But Capricorn in general is about maintaining control of their material reality. And again, by material reality, we could just call that the way that things are, whether that is a social norm or an established, social reality, if it's a material reality, if it's an emotional reality, right? They're trying to get control of that. And so one of the other tools or skills that Capricorn has to get this control is conforming. Conforming means to take on the shape of something. And so Capricorn's real skill set is figuring out what the shape is. That means how much money we got, how much time we have, how long is it going to take, who has the power, what does it mean? This sober assessment for Capricorn is, I need to have the most realistic assessment of the way that things are and of who I am so that I can get control. I can't wish it was a door when there was a wall there. And as a matter of fact, if I have any hope of getting a door where a wall is, I first have to accept that it's a wall. And I probably got to take some measurements and see what the materials are. Virgo can help with that part, right? So even when we want to make change, we still need to be able to see things as they are and to accept things as they are. And Capricorn is the person for the job. Capricorn is the person in your family. Capricorn is the person at your job or in your relationship that's going to be like, hold up. That's not what that is. Let's see what this really, 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 really is. Now, the other part about conforming for Capricorn is that they often deny their emotional needs because Capricorn has experienced, Capricorn has experienced that your feelings ain't gonna change nothing. It don't matter how loud you cry. It don't matter how hard you plead. It doesn't matter who you try to affect. No one cares about your feelings. Now, this isn't always something that is communicated to Capricorn explicitly. It could just be something they internalize because there's a lack of emotional responsiveness to their needs, to their presence in their upbringing and in their environment. We'll get more into why that is shortly. But this is a consequence of the experiences that they've had with their caregivers where they've been denied emotional connection and it's been withheld. And again, sometimes this is intentional, willful, but most times it's a product of circumstance. All of these things can be generational. So Capricorn can see the ways that they have inherited or been victimized by generational emotional neglect. And if you got multiple people in your family who have Capricorn, sidereal Capricorn placements, know that there is a generational inheritance or pattern of emotional neglect, meaning nobody has gotten a chance to really be a child and really be a baby, and everyone has had to be an adult, which brings me to my next point that Capricorn is often parentified during their upbringing, meaning Capricorn is the one that ends up taking care of their parent. Capricorn is the one that ends up taking care of their siblings. They have to be mindful of money and resources. Remember, all of this is coming from Capricorn's need to have enough. And that need arises as something really prominent in their lives because there isn't enough. There isn't enough emotional attentiveness. There isn't enough money. There isn't enough time. And I'm going to sneak this in real quick for y'all and tell y'all this real quick. Oftentimes, if you got Capricorn, somebody in your family or in your household has an addiction. Now, it can be an addiction to spending money and shopping. It can be an addiction to cigarettes or alcohol or drugs. It can be an emotional addiction. They could be a dry alcoholic. But I've seen it too many times to ignore the obvious pattern that the denial, the emotional denial, and the controlling that Capricorn kind of gets their fist clenched for is coming because there's often an addict in the house. And the sign that addict probably has is sidereal Cancer, or they have a prominently placed moon. Okay? So, Capricorn learns to do without because there's usually someone else in the family or the household whose needs or feelings were deemed more important. So you got to think of this as a scale, that there's only so much emotional room in the household. There's only so much emotional room in a family and the social dynamics. And in a family, there are these roles that we all play, right? And so there's often someone in the family who sucks up all the emotional air, meaning they're sick or disabled, right? And so they need more attention and care because they cannot do things on their own, right? It can be that there is an addict in the house and everyone's role is determined by the addict's behavior and managing the fallout of all of the things that addict finds themselves involved in, right? And so the posture of Capricorn is to take up less emotional space. Y'all on Twitter or on YouTube can't see this, but the comments on Instagram are going off about how so many people are identifying. I ain't even got off the first page yet, so let's get off the first page. I want to also say here that Capricorn, the caretaker, that's the word, the caretaker had to take care of the needs and feelings of others, and nobody was taking care of theirs, right? So they learned to suppress or repress their feelings in order to take care of somebody else's needs or feelings. And as a matter of fact, this generational of an inheritance of emotional neglect that Capricorn seems to exemplify is because there is this other pattern in the family where the addict or whatever that generational inheritance um, is being enabled and being indulged and not really given a realistic experience of the limits of their feelings. Their feelings just spill out all over everywhere, and everybody's like, oh my God, you're just swimming in the feelings of somebody. So, this is why Capricorn is good at being the caretaker at work, in friendships, in relationships, and in their families. Now, let's talk about Capricorn in love. Okay. Capricorn is an attentive lover. They have a really good memory and they're excellent at taking care of all the practical considerations of being in a relationship. Let me tell you, get you a Capricorn, okay? Get you a Capricorn. Do you hear me? Now I'm biased, okay? And I'm gonna be real upfront about that. I'm biased. Capricorn makes everything better. But let me tell you why. Well, I already told you why. Because they're the caretaker and they're really good at considering all the practical considerations of a relationship. Now, soft and tender and expressive, not so much. But if you want to bring out the softer side of Capricorn, make sure that there is enough money in the bank account. Make sure that time has been allotted to complete all of the necessary tasks and responsibilities, and make space for them to relax and put down their drive for control. If you want a soft Capricorn, you just got to do some things better than them, right? Capricorn, do you know how they talk about the invisible labor of a household? Making sure you got enough toilet paper, keeping track of the grocery list over the course of the week, making sure the doctor's appointments are made, remembering birthdays, remembering, all of the little details of the life that everybody has to have in order for the house and family to function. Guess who's doing all that labor? The Capricorn, right? So if you get you a mean and annoyed Capricorn, it's probably because you are not aware of and present to all of the invisible caretaking labor that Capricorn is doing, right? And so you need to pick up the slack, right? Capricorn needs to know that they won't run out of the most important things needed to live comfortably. They like quality over quantity, and they will only let their guard down when tasks, dates, and responsibilities are well researched and well planned. But just know, if you don't do it, and if you don't do it well, Capricorn will. So do it and do it well. You really got to be like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 steps ahead of Capricorn, because that's just how they're conditioned to function. And unfortunately, people take a lot of that for granted. And I think, because I want to move on here to talk about Capricorn as a parent. As a parent, Capricorn can be self-sacrificial. They will be praised for how well they center the needs of their children, especially if they're a mother, right? And it's praising the martyrdom of it all, right? But they often won't show their need for appreciation and validation, but they need it real bad. Words will not suffice. No thank yous, no cards, no Bath and Body Works gift cards, and none of that stuff. Lighten Capricorn's load and take some things off their hands. Don't ask Capricorn what they need to be done. Use your eyeballs and your ears and your comprehension to observe and figure out what needs to be done. Because once Capricorn starts having to delegate, they're like, never mind, I'll just do it, because that's more work. But that's how you let Capricorn know that you care. In love and as a parent, Sidereal Capricorn will resist letting others take on responsibilities because the loss of control can be incredibly triggering. If you're not going to do it as well as Sidereal Capricorn would, then they won't think it's worth it to give up control. So you got to be clever and find ways to make things easier for them. You got to think several steps ahead, which I already said. If you have a child with Sidereal Capricorn, find ways to show interest in who they are. They will often be in their own world and not let on when things are bothering them emotionally. Because that Capricorn child learned real early that ain't nobody got time for their feelings. And it doesn't matter what your words say. Are you too busy? Are you preoccupied working? Do you have a chronic illness? Are you taking care of a sick relative? Are you preoccupied with your spouse or another child, right? The Capricorn child is going to figure out real quickly, ain't nobody got time for me. Never mind then. And that carries into adulthood. They're going to show maturity that betrays their chronological age. That is not praise for a child. Wow, you're so mature for your age. What you're really saying is like, wow, what happened to you that you're already acting like an adult at 8 years old? Why aren't you playful and childish and fun and doing all of the really kiddie things? That's what you're really saying. But this is a sign that they've already internalized that their emotions and needs are an inconvenience to others. The Capricorn child will feel cared for when they know that they don't have to worry about their parents or their siblings, and they can focus on their own interest and desire. The last thing I want to say is that Capricorn in general makes a great entrepreneur because they have an intuitive understanding of how systems and structures work. They are also really good at building structures and systems. Now, they are also prone to take on way more than it is their responsibility because of their investment in making sure things run efficiently and also the control piece. They can't stand to see things done poorly or without sufficient planning. Now, we've moved on to the very fun part of today's live, which is to talk about the individual planets in Capricorn. Remember, get your sidereal birth chart. Go to thepeoplesoracle.com, click sidereal birth chart, or go into the description of this video, or check the link in my bio, wherever you're watching this from. Because a birth chart, a sidereal birth chart is complex, individual interpretations of planets can be contradictory within the larger context of the chart. That's normal and it should be expected. For an expert and professional look and reading of your sidereal birth chart, book a Divination for Liberation Sidereal Astrology reading with me. Again, you can find that at the link in the bio, in the description box, or at thepeoplesoracle.com. Now, there is something that all placements in Sidereal Capricorn have in common, and it is that they're all answering these three questions. What have I had to be real and sober about? What have I not had enough of? And what have I learned to withhold from myself because it was willfully or circumstantially withheld from me? I just want to repeat this real quick, that a birth chart is really complex, just like you. There are contradictory interpretations of individual placements in a birth chart, and they are reflecting the contradictory experiences that you have had in your life. What I'm going to read now is specific to these individual placements, but understand that there can be things in your chart that contradict that. The benefit of having a professional astrologer read your birth chart is I know how to make it all make sense together. I know how to read the patterns and how to prioritize what takes precedent, what experiences and what placements are loudly or more loudly representing your experiences of yourself, your life, your world, and your relationships. So first up, we're going to start with the sun in Capricorn. Now, the sun represents our need to be acknowledged and seen as special for who we are. The sun sign in our birth chart tells us what makes us feel self-conscious, like, are other people going to notice? About ourselves and what makes us feel respected. Now, remember, the sun and the sign of the sun in your birth chart is what you identify as, that's my sign. So if somebody says, I'm a Capricorn, what they're referring to, probably unbeknownst to them, is that on the day of their birth, the sun was in the sign Capricorn. So if you identify as a Capricorn, which, scratch that. If you have looked at your sidereal birth chart and the sun is in Capricorn, you might also say, my sign is Capricorn, okay? So let's answer those three questions for the sun in Capricorn and then dig into shortly just a few other details. So, what have I had to be real about, or what has a person who has sun in Capricorn had to be real about? Ooh, how much my presence is allowed to influence others and how much impact I'm able to have in the world. What has Sidereal Capricorn Sun not had enough of? Attention that validates me and feeling special and respected for who I am. What has Sidereal Capricorn Sun learned to withhold from themselves because it was willfully or circumstantially withheld from Capricorn? And that is a sense of worthiness just for existing, esteem and respect without having had to work for it or sacrifice to earn it. Now, y'all see why Capricorn is so serious? Y'all see why Capricorn ain't gonna let nobody else take control? They dealing with some heavy stuff, all right? Go easy on Capricorn. Sun in Capricorn is not the type to hype themselves up or overplay themselves. But don't mistake that for their authentic self. So what I'm trying to say to you is just because Capricorn is not hyping themselves up and talking their schniz, that does not mean that they don't feel like they are, right? They are the caretaker because they've often never got to be the center of attention. They have the need to be seen as and acknowledged as special just like everyone else. It's just that other needs, like the need to have enough, were more important for them growing up. People who are emotionally indulgent and wasteful, and those who throw tantrums without a solutions-oriented disposition offend Sidereal Capricorn Sun and can bring out their mean and controlling side. This is the very behavior that makes Capricorn Sun feel self-conscious about themselves. It's embarrassing for them to be emotionally expressive and demanding of attention. But that's because those behaviors before were punished or disregarded or did not have any power. You know, their expressiveness did not elicit a response from people. It's almost like Capricorn has had the experience of being in genuine distress and like nobody is moving about it. Everybody's just sitting there staring, or they're unavailable in some capacity for reasons that I've mentioned before. Capricorn Suns are perceived as mature because they are not demanding of attention. Being on the receiving end of a grand gestures are not their thing unless they feel like they deserve it. And this is because Capricorn is a realist. They want tangible manifestations of their influence and impact on others. They could be kind of like Virgo in that they're team receipts as well. If you want to bring out the playful side of Sidereal Capricorn Sun, make them feel special by planning for the future. Be on time and show that you are in control of things. That is a tall order for Capricorn, but you will bring out their playful side if they don't have to worry. And they're going to worry, so you got to make sure they're not going to worry. Sun in Sidereal Capricorn is learning to acknowledge their need for attention and to notice when they are accepting being ignored. Now that right there is a word or two or three. Now, what's next? We got to talk about the moon in Sidereal Capricorn. The moon is the need for comfort and safety and protection. Its sign shows us how we need to be tended to and cared for. Chisholm Owachi says, this is so weird. I'm pretty sure I'm a Sidereal Aqua Sun, but this feels very familiar. That is because Saturn is the ruler of both Capricorn and Aquarius. And so they both have experiences being ignored as kind of the primary experiences that shape their relationship with their self and their needs. All right, so let's answer the 3 questions for Sidereal Capricorn Moon. What has Sidereal Capricorn Moon had to be real and sober about? I want to give all the Sidereal Capricorn Moons out there a hug before I say this. So I'm sending y'all a virtual hug, okay? Sidereal Capricorn Moon has had to be real and sober about the emotional availability of their caregivers. They've had to be sober and real about how much attentiveness to their feelings and physical needs has been available for them. What has Sidereal Capricorn Moon not had enough of? Sidereal Capricorn Moon has not had enough of being fussed over. Are you okay? Are you comfortable? Did you say ouch? Are you hungry? Are you cold? Did you have enough to eat? Do you need your pain meds? Do you need your hair brushed? Do you need to be held? They haven't had enough of that. Sidereal Capricorn Moon has not had enough of being made to feel safe and protected and comfortable. What has Sidereal Capricorn Moon learned to withhold from themselves because it was willfully or circumstantially withheld from Sidereal Capricorn Moon? Physical and emotional comfort and safety. Now, if that sounds real extra heavy compared to these other planets, it's because it is. It is. Now, I'm coming out the gate with the hard stuff about this, so just hang with me. I'm holding your hand in the spirit, Sidereal Capricorn Moon. Moon in Sidereal Capricorn grew up taking care of themselves, their siblings, or their mothers when they were children. They really did not get a chance to be babied. This makes them act like they don't need to be fussed over or tended to emotionally, but they do. The smallest gestures mean the world to Sidereal Capricorn Moon and all other placements in Capricorn, to be honest, because they have learned to adapt to very little affection, emotional closeness, and attentiveness. Don't mistake Sidereal Capricorn Moon's emotional resourcefulness, lack of emotional expression, and tendency to accept discomfort as a true indication of how they feel and what they need. Moon in Sidereal Capricorn and those who love them can learn to notice when they are downplaying their needs. And you can notice, right? There are some telltale behaviors that will, signal to you, Sidereal Capricorn Moon, or the parent of somebody with Sidereal Capricorn Moon, or the friend or partner to someone who has Sidereal Capricorn Moon. These are the behaviors that you can recognize, because Capricorn Moon is not going to be like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. Oh, that hurts. They're not going to be explicit like that. And so these are the behaviors you need to watch out for. When they start rationing care, excuse me, when they start rationing care and other emotional resources, when they overly focus on making sure other people feel safe and comfortable at the expense of their own needs. So if Capricorn Moon starts getting all checking the bank account and checking the bill and making the spreadsheet and checking the refrigerator and fussing over where things are and where they need to be and opening drawers and stuff, if they are, start saving and hoarding things, that is the sign that Capricorn Moon does not feel emotionally safe, and they do not feel taken care of. Reassurance will go a long way with them. And you got to push through the resistance, because Capricorn is not going to be like you come and give Sidereal Capricorn Moon a hug and they're like, oh, thank you. Because The biggest fear of, Sidereal Capricorn moon and all Capricorn placements is the fear of getting dependent on something or someone that is unreliable. The fear that there is not enough, the fear that it will run out. And so they will avoid using or taking advantage of or getting comfortable with someone being there for them, because in their mind, they have to plan for the possibility that that person's going to be gone, or that that care is going to be taken away, or that there's not enough of it. Okay? Moon in Sidereal Capricorn is learning to feel their need for care and attentiveness by recognizing when they are downplaying their feelings and when they are struggling to take up emotional space. Whew. All right. Next up on the list is Capricorn Rising. Are you Sidereal Capricorn Rising? Rising sign, ascendant, first house, all of those things are the same. You dig? Okay. The rising sign, also known as the ascendant, is your personality and temperament. It describes the role you play in relationships. The rising sign describes who or what you identify as. What have I had to be, rather, let's say it this way. What has Sidereal Capricorn rising or ascendant in Capricorn had to be real and sober about? How much physical and emotional space they have been allowed to take up in their interactions and relationships with others. Sidereal Capricorn rising has had to be real and sober about whose discomfort is a priority in a relationship. What has Sidereal Capricorn rising not had enough of? Freedom from being responsible for other people's feelings. What has Sidereal Capricorn rising learned to withhold from themselves because it was willfully or circumstantially withheld from them? Care and concern for themselves in relation to others. Sidereal Capricorn rising prioritizes the appearance of self-control, self-discipline, and self-reliance. They are the adult in the room that sees things as they are and despises self-delusion. When Capricorn rising walks into the room, they have made themselves the de facto adult. Okay? The biggest sin for Sidereal Capricorn rising is for them to have an unrealistic perception of themselves and the people they are in relationship with. It's a real specific type of loss of control that they avoid at all costs. If you are looking for a realistic assessment of yourself or anyone or anything else, ask Capricorn rising. And I just want to take this moment to point out that this is why Sidereal Capricorn and Sidereal Leo be having a beef. Because Leo wants you to drink the Kool-Aid. Leo wants you to believe the hype. Leo wants you to prop up their self-image. No shade to Leo, for real. However, Capricorn don't love lies. It's just what it is. Capricorn does not love lies and delusion. Now, if it's the real deal, like Capricorn is like a walking realness meter, meaning that if the goods are good and if the real is real, like Capricorn is going to be the first one to call it like they see it. But if it's fake, if it's delusion, if it's propped up on some nonsense, Capricorn is not having it. Okay? Having Capricorn as your rising sign means you are the one who is most likely to take on the role of caretaker in your relationships. At the most basic level, that means you take up less emotional space in relation to who you are engaging with. The other person's feelings and needs are more likely to drive the direction of the relationship or any interactions. This can be hard for Sidereal Capricorn Rising to see sometimes because they identify as someone with discipline and self control. So their lack of emotional expression might feel like they're just not an expressive person, when in fact, they have a deep fear of loss of emotional control. Capricorn breaking down, having emotional breakdowns. If you see a Capricorn breaking down, if you see Capricorn crying in front of other people, just know it's dire. Just know it's real, 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 real bad. And somebody better do something real quick, because they're just not the person who's going to be expressive like that. It's just not the way that they've developed. It's not a kind of skill or tool that has worked for them, right? Sidereal Capricorn Rising is learning to rein in their resentment of people who act with their feelings first by being more honest, spontaneous, and expressive with their feelings and needs. I know, Capricorn. I know. It's not the end of the world, though. It's not the end of the world to show a little feeling. To show a little feeling. It's not a private part. It's a human part. It's okay to show a little feeling. We're on to Mercury. Mercury is the need to hear and be heard, to know, to understand, and be understood. The sign of Mercury is telling us how we relate to this need. Oh, shoot. Did I skip Mercury and answer these questions? Now I got to make it up on the spot. What has sidereal Mercury in Capricorn had to be real and sober about? They have had to be real and sober about other people's receptiveness to them when they speak and communicate. They've had to be real and sober about other people's willingness to try to understand them. What has sidereal Capricorn not had enough of? Being heard and being understood. What has sidereal Mercury in Capricorn learned to withhold from themselves because it was willfully or circumstantially withheld from them? Again, the expectation that other people should hear them, that other people will be able to hear them and understand them without them having to work really hard for it, or without them having to earn the right to be heard and to be understood. Mercury in Sidereal Capricorn is a direct and sometimes a literal communicator. They can be stewards of language, focused on maintaining the integrity of what is said and what is meant. Many great writers and speakers have Mercury in Sidereal Capricorn. Hi, it's me. Because they take words seriously. They are mechanistic in their approach to communication, focusing on intelligibility and accuracy. When I talk about Capricorn being resourceful and sober and focused on it is what it is, that applies to words and language and communication as well for Mercury in Capricorn. There is a meaning that words have, there's a way that we communicate, and y'all are so funny in the comments. But Capricorn is all about how do words function and work, and let me figure that out as soberly as possible so I can figure out how to use words. This is why so many great writers and communicators have Mercury in Capricorn. Mercury in Sidereal Capricorn prioritizes efficiency. Their need to be heard and understood serves their overriding need to be real. They can be unintentionally blunt with their direct style of communication, as they don't often take their own or other people's feelings into consideration when they're trying to get their point across. They're not trying to be mean. They just trying to be real, okay? All right? They just trying to be real. Mercury in Sidereal Capricorn is learning that they can still be understood even when they don't feel like they are in complete control of their words or how they are coming across in communication. It can be worth it to take their own feelings into consideration when expressing themselves, even though they have experienced being shut down and disregarded for doing so in the past. Ooh, I'm not gonna lie. Writing about Venus and Capricorn was real interesting because, like, here's the thing. I've talked a lot about the experiences that have shaped people who have planets or placements in Capricorn, right? I've talked a lot about the emotional neglect, the parentification, the intolerance that people in their environment had for age appropriate behavior, being praised for being mature. But here's the thing though, in adult relationships, and even as a parent, like these are some really good and necessary qualities to have. And I think that Venus in Capricorn is one of those placements that exemplifies that. Venus is the need to be liked and pleased and to please others. The sign of Venus describes the things we need to have in common with others so that we feel like we belong. It's what we like in other people, right? Which is a catch-22, right? Because if your experiences are of being emotionally neglected, like, unfortunately, that's going to be the thing that you gravitate towards in relationships. All right. What has Venus in Sidereal Capricorn had to be real and sober about? They have had to be real and sober about the need to conform to others' emotional availability in order to be liked and to be pleased. What has Sidereal Venus and Capricorn not had enough of? They have not had enough of pleasure and feeling pleased and having emotional things in common with others so that they feel like they belong. What has Sidereal Capricorn learned to withhold from themselves because it was willfully or circumstantially withheld from them? Being liked and well received by others and being pleased with themselves. And let me just take this moment to say, this is real people pleaser vibes, even though I really don't like that phrase because I feel like it's like an accusation and like this negative judgment, and it really betrays the reality that like something happened to you to make you suppress your own feelings and needs, and to make you overly focus on whether other people are pleased, and to overly focus on whether other people like you. There's something that happened there. And it's really that you were denied. Like just somebody being into you. Just somebody being like, I want you to feel like you're welcome here. I want you to feel like you belong. I want you to feel like we like you because we like you. Right? And so you become a people pleaser because somewhere along the line, somebody brought you all their feelings on a platter and then said, this is your problem. You better fix it or else. So I say all of that to say, Venus and Capricorn, baby. Like Moon in Sidereal Capricorn, Venus here struggles to take up emotional space. And like Capricorn Rising, Venus here is also very inclined to take on the role of caretaker. Specifically, Sidereal Capricorn Venus takes care of other people's need to be liked and to be pleased, denying themselves the same. Sometimes they can get so caught up in taking care of other people's need to feel received that Venus in Capricorn doesn't stop to see if they actually like the person. Right? Venus in Capricorn is really good at making you feel like you're all good and taken care of and welcome and all of these things, but that doesn't mean that Venus in Capricorn actually likes you. And a lot of times Venus in Capricorn hasn't really taken the time to consider whether or not they actually like you, right? Or Venus in Capricorn has the other problem of not liking anybody because nobody lives up to Venus and Capricorn standards enough to make them relinquish emotional control. Ooh, I'm so sorry. That came out really. I'm just telling the truth, y'all. I'm just telling the truth. Okay, I'm gonna read my notes here. Venus in Capricorn struggles when witnessing others in emotional distress and works hard to make them comfortable. They can be disarming but also stern. All Capricorn placements have this sternness in common when they feel like they're losing control of themselves or a situation. Venus in Sidereal Capricorn feels like they belong when those around them share their sense of pragmatism, by any means necessary attitude to solving problems, and those who have an eye for efficiency and quality. Let me tell you something about Venus in Capricorn. If you bring garbage, they're going to call it garbage, even if you did not know it was garbage. Okay? That's honestly real talk. If you got Capricorn and Libra, baby girl, if you have Capricorn and Libra, you want to talk about someone who is able to recognize quality, someone who, I mean, and quite frankly, it doesn't matter if it's Venus, whatever it is. If you have Capricorn, the ability to recognize the skill sets that other people have is giving managerial qualities, it's giving leadership qualities, it's giving, I know how to recognize who should be doing what. Now, you need to have a little Aries, right, in order to want to be in a leadership position, or you have to have some fire. Aries is good, or maybe, even Mars in Cancer is good for that, in order to want to be in the position to execute and take control. Capricorn by itself just wants things to run well, right? And they want to make sure it runs well. They don't necessarily want to be the face or the name in the responsibility, right? I see you, Passiflora, and all that cardinal in your chart. Venus in Capricorn, ooh, and this is real. I'm just saying the truth here, okay? I want you to really take this to heart, Venus in Capricorn, okay? Venus in Sidereal Capricorn is learning to let themselves enjoy good and pleasurable feelings and being genuinely liked even when they feel too afraid to let themselves because they fear loss, it being withheld in the future, or living without it. Capricorn needs to learn to live in the moment sometimes. Nothing lasts forever, and it's okay to use it all up and move on. Right? We got 3 more. Now, Mars is the last one that I did a longer explanation for beyond the questions. For Jupiter and Saturn, I just answered the questions because those are, much slower moving planets, meaning that more people will have those placements in any given time period. And particularly with Jupiter and Saturn, it's much more important for those planets to be contextualized within the bigger picture of the chart and in reference to the other placements in the chart in order for them to make sense, right? So talking about Jupiter in Capricorn and Saturn in Capricorn, or whatever sign Jupiter and Saturn are in your chart, they tend to be more specifics about the time period that someone is born in and less about the personal experience. So time period meaning larger groups of people are experiencing at the same time, okay? We're onto Mars in Sidereal Capricorn. Mars is the need for power, independence, physical and emotional autonomy. The sign of Mars shows how you assert your independence and autonomy and what makes you feel powerful. It can also indicate the type of work you are suited for. What has Mars in Sidereal Capricorn had to be real and sober about? They've had to be real and sober about what they're capable of and how much autonomy they're allowed to have in life. Thank you, James, for informing all of these people about what's going on here. What has Mars in Sidereal Capricorn not had enough of? Emotional autonomy and power over themselves. And that's implying that somebody else has had emotional power over Mars in Sidereal Capricorn. Question is, who is it? It's probably more than one person over the course of your life. But I think it's good for Mars in Sidereal Capricorn to recognize when they are giving up emotional control over themselves. What has Mars in Sidereal Capricorn learned to withhold from themselves because it was willfully or circumstantially withheld from them? Freedom to do as they do and feel as they please without worrying about the loss of control. Woo! Mars in Sidereal Capricorn is sober, resourceful, and a hard worker. Like Moon in Capricorn, they have had to forego the frivolities of youth to take care of other people or themselves when somebody else should have been doing it. And I want to be clear that Mars and Capricorn can have all of their material needs met. The thing that they are denied is emotional. This is true for Mars and Capricorn. This is excuse me, this is true for all Capricorn placements, that you could be well materially taken care of. The problem is ain't nobody got time for your feelings. You feel what I'm saying? They are responsible and take on whatever needs to be done to keep the family, business, or household running. Capricorn Mars has usually not been able to take on the because I can attitude in life because doing so has had hard and heavy consequences. Excuse me, both emotionally and materially. They struggle to take risks because they don't feel entitled to trying things without the certainty that they haven't wasted time, feelings, or money. That's another really big thing for Sidereal Capricorn in general. This idea that certain feelings are useless or certain feelings are unnecessary or should not be given credence or attention. And Sidereal Capricorn, whatever your placements are, needs to understand that particular disposition towards their feelings or even the feelings of others is them taking on the same disposition that was had towards them, right? So somebody in Capricorn's life explicitly or implicitly communicated to them that nobody cares if you're angry, nobody cares if you're sad, nobody cares if you're grieving, nobody cares if you're hurt, right? Or don't nobody have time for that, or there's not enough emotional attentiveness or tenderness available for us to tend to you. Then Capricorn takes on that towards himself. And there are certain times in life when Capricorn is re-experiencing that same trauma or that same neglect. And it's hard. There are times when life is going to be reinforcing those beliefs or dispositions. And at that time, it'll be great, right? Because if ain't nobody there to catch Capricorn's tears, it's good that Capricorn knows how to be real and get it on and get done with whatever needs to be get done. But there are also going to be times where there's somebody is there to catch your tears. There is somebody there to hold space for you and to be tender and attentiveness for you. And Capricorn has to learn how to let themselves have that, right? Mars in Sidereal Capricorn can grow to resent the people in their life who aren't afraid to be a bit reckless, particularly emotionally reckless, and do without having to plan or consider so much. But that's because Capricorn Mars has been the one left to be responsible for the consequences of other people's reckless behavior. They don't get to play and try new things without having to worry about caring for other people or cleaning up the messes of other people. But Mars in Capricorn is learning to channel their resourcefulness and work ethic into things that matter to them and not just cleaning up the messes other people leave. They are learning to let some things go undone so that they don't continue to protect other people from the consequences of their actions. That one you're going to want to run back, listen to again, and write down in your journal and see what comes up. All right, we are down to the last two. All right. Jupiter is the need for certainty and for things to make sense. The sign of Jupiter describes how we connect the dots between our experiences and the stories we tell about them and who we are. The sign of Jupiter shows what we have been taught to believe about who we are and how the world works. What has Jupiter in Sidereal Capricorn had to be real and sober about? You've had to be real and sober about the meaning of your experiences and any new information you encounter. Meaning you can't just make it mean what you want it to mean, or what it should mean, or what it personally means to you based on your experiences. No, you got to be real and sober, and it means what it means because that's what it is. Remember, it is what it is. It is what it is. That's Capricorn's MO. What has Jupiter in Sidereal Capricorn not had enough of? Certainty in the form of plausible explanations for why things have happened and why they happen that way. And here's the thing about Jupiter in Capricorn. It's that how something has personally, emotionally impacted you is never permitted to be the context or the reason or the thread that connects things and makes them make sense, right? Your feelings and your subjective emotional experience is never like, oh, that's why they did that to me, or this is why that happened. It's this other way where you're kind of like not taking things personally. And it can also be hard for Jupiter in Sidereal Capricorn to recognize the role that their feelings might play and why certain things play out the way that they do, right? And it's this kind of thing where Jupiter or Capricorn in general is so used to swimming in the water of other people's emotions, meaning having to contend with how needy or expressive or intense other people are emotionally, that they just don't necessarily have the skill and experience of recognizing how their emotions and their needs play a role in how things happen and why they make sense. What has Jupiter, in Sidereal Capricorn learned to withhold from themselves because it was willfully or circumstantially withheld from them? Ooh, Jupiter in Sidereal Capricorn has had withheld from them the entitlement that things should make sense to them, and that sometimes Jupiter in Sidereal Capricorn is right and other people should believe them. Now, I'm going to read the answers to these questions for Jupiter, or Saturn rather, in Sidereal Capricorn, and then I have a brief word for Saturn in Sidereal Capricorn, okay? Saturn is reality. It is sanity and the limits of the mind, the body, and life. Saturn is social and physical death. The sign of Saturn describes the social and material reality of the time period we are born into. It shows how we engage with the changing social and material reality. Before I read Before I read these uh, answers to these questions about Saturn and Sidereal Capricorn, I want to offer this broad context that Saturn was most recently in Sidereal Capricorn January 2020 through January 2023. That represents not the entirety of the pandemic, but the start of the pandemic. And so people who were born between January 2020 and January 2023 have their Saturn in Sidereal Capricorn. People who were born 1990 to 1992 through 1992-93, they also have Saturn in Sidereal Capricorn, which means the previous 3 years was their Saturn return. So now I'm going to answer the questions about Saturn in Sidereal Capricorn. What has Saturn in Sidereal Capricorn had to be real and sober about? The reality of physical death. And how they have to ignore their feelings and emotional needs in order to be accepted as sane. What has Saturn in Sidereal Capricorn not had enough of? Others' participation in their emotional experience of reality. I'm reading from my notes, y'all, that I typed up. And this will be on my blog. This is Reinstate of Mind. I'm reading from a clipboard and my notes here. It's going to be on my blog. Thank you, James. What has Saturn in Sidereal Capricorn learned to withhold from themselves because it was willfully or circumstantially withheld from them? More than what you have or have been given or feel like you have earned. And that is all that I have to say about Sidereal Capricorn on today. I'm going to stay on live for a little bit because there are some questions in the question box. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for joining. If you are interested in learning about Divination for Liberation Sidereal Astrology, I suggest that you get you one of these. I just closed my most recent set of pre-orders, but there will be some available, hard copies available for purchase in February. And right now, you can still go to shop.thepeoplesoracle.com and download a PDF version. There is tables with all the signs and planet meanings in here. Plus, I walk you through the personal application of 1 year of astrology. No previous knowledge required. If you are interested in getting a professional read of your sidereal birth chart, I am available for bookings. I've got lots of different offerings available. You can go to thepeoplesoracle.com or click the link in the description or in my bio and book a reading with me. Get you a 30-minute Divination for Liberation Sidereal Astrology reading, or if your birthday is near, you should book a solar return reading. Other than that, I am going to stay on Instagram and I am going to say goodbye to YouTube, and I'll see you soon, probably next month. I don't know if I want to do the signs in order or not. So I'm not going to tell you what's going to be next. You just got to come a month from now. I'll schedule it and you all will know when it's time to come. All right.